Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. With only 2 weeks left before Classic Hondas on the Dragon here in October, I have a few more items to finish up here on the Integra. One of them is the driver's seat webbing. It actually broke and the cushion dropped down on me the other day whenever I went to get this thing aligned at the alignment shop. So I ordered a replacement from Capital Seating. It's a Recaro webbing. I'll show it to you here in just a minute. And we're going to hopefully get that swapped out pretty quickly and easily on this seat here. I am going to have to pull it out to do that job, so I'm going to pull that out, take care of that, get that seat put back in. Hopefully we'll be good to go for the trip on that aspect. The next thing that we'll probably end up doing on here is the rear wheel bearings or the hubs. I have had to order some special hubs because these are the 4x114 for the 96 spec ITR. They are not available, so I had to get creative and look on Honda Tech for some old forum threads to see like what people were doing, and luckily I was able to source a part. I'll talk about that after we get the seat done, so let's dive into this seat and get it fixed. Alright, as you can tell, the old webbing was completely done for. It split completely in two, and it did allow that cushion to fall all the way through. So it was definitely important to go ahead and take care of that because it is not the optimal seating position when this thing is literally pushing through, and you lose a lot of support whenever you don't have this. Luckily, it was a pretty easy swap. The hardest part of the swap was really stretching that new material across to get it to hook in, because that is new rubber and it was really tough. I did have to use a heat gun and heat it up to soften it up so I could stretch it a little bit easier. I got that taken care of. It only took about an hour, maybe a little bit less, to get that all done. Happy that's done, and we can move on to the next thing on the list, which is the rear wheel hubs. I have been driving this thing a little bit here and there over the past week or two just to get some miles on it, since I did the timing belt and had to redo the oil seal and all that. And I got an alignment on it, so it is driving a little bit straighter, but I did notice a little bit of noise, and I think it's primarily coming from the rear wheel bearings. The front, it may be making some noise too, but normally whenever you have a bad bearing up front, you can go left to right and you hear like a roaring noise. It gets louder as you turn. I haven't noticed that too much. I will need to do that at some point on the front, just because I'm going to be doing the rear. Now, Honda does not offer the wheel bearings for the 96 spec ITR anymore. It's kind of a one-off 2-year deal. 96 and 97 is the only year they made that rear wheel hub like that. And I did find an old thread about the compatible hubs, and one of them was an Accord hub because they have 4x114, but there is some machining you have to do. The outer diameter of the flange is like 152 millimeters out of the box, and so it has to be machined down to fit 139 millimeter, because that's what the rotor size is when it slides over. So I did have my friend machine down some of these Timken brand wheel hubs here. They are 4x114. And they are shaved down now to 139 millimeters, so the brake rotor will fit over these. I haven't tested that yet, but we are going to find out. So let's go ahead and try to get these old hubs off of here. It's going to be kind of a pain because usually those bearings seize on the spindle pretty good, so I may have to heat it up or cut it off. But I'm going to go ahead and try to get that taken care of before the trip, just to have peace of mind on the tail of the Dragon. So let's jump into it. All right, well, it has been a couple of days since I started this project. I have gotten a lot done on the car off camera. My friend Justin came in to help me with the transmission, but before he came in, I did get the rear hubs on the car, and I did have to use the Mazda Protege hub nut because of the larger flange diameter, because you can't use the stock washer that came in there just to get the thread engagement that you need for these aftermarket hubs. I'm going to leave a link down below for the hubs as well as the hub nut. So if you want to try that on your 96 ITR, you can do so by clicking the links down below. That all looks good now. We are good to go on the wheel bearings as well as the seat webbing was replaced. That all went pretty nicely. We did attempt to pull the transmission apart and rebuild it. We got pretty far in, but there was like a friction damper on the counter shaft that needs to be replaced that I don't have. So we kind of punted on that job. He took the main shaft home with him, I believe, and he's going to try to pull some bearings off of it because we were not able to get those heated up and pulled off. One of those was seized up on there really, really tightly, and I did get the case cleaned up, so the case is good to go. But we are going to have to figure out that bearing on that shaft. What we spent most of our weekend doing was actually replacing the clutch on the ITR. This thing had a squeak whenever I pushed the pedal, as well as some chatter letting the clutch out or pushing it in. And I was really wanting to get that resolved before Classic Honda's on the Dragon. That's why I replaced the master and slave cylinder, but it did not really resolve my issue of the chatter and the squeak. So the clutch job is complete, I'm happy to say. Did not record a single second of that job because we were really just trying to get that done this weekend while he was in town, able to help me out because a clutch job is kind of a pain to do by yourself, and it was really going to take me more than just the weekend, I think, to get that done. So the clutch that's in here is a just Exity OEM replacement that I put in there, as well as an ACT, like a 12-pound lightweight flywheel, because that's what I had available to use. I was not able to get the stock one machined. The stock clutch here was in, the thickness was in good shape, but there were some damages to the springs in here. That's probably where all that chatter was coming from. The flywheel, it had some hot spots on here, but it wasn't terrible. I can probably machine that down and have that as a replacement ITR flywheel. I've got two stock ITR flywheels that need machined down. Whether I'm going to use the ITR flywheel in the CRX, I'm not sure yet, because I may end up buying another ACT lightweight flywheel like I had in here before that's actually in the ITR now. But I'm super happy that the clutch job is now done in the ITR, and with that job being done, the car is ready for Classic Honda's on the Dragon now. We've been working really hard to get this car ready, and I'm super happy that it is. Huge thanks to my friend Justin for coming in town, for helping me out, really. He has helped me out multiple times, and I really appreciate that. So stay tuned for the next video. It'll probably be Classic Honda's on the Dragon video, because there's not really much for me to do out here in the garage right now other than get this car cleaned up, get packed up, and take that trip here in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you then.